Diane Watson revolted the world by placing her mother-in-law in a nursing home while her husband traveled on business. When he discovered everything through a card, the man prepared a disturbing surprise for his wife's birthday. Larry and Diana Watson had only been married for 3 years, but their relationship was not as strong as initially. They respected and had affection for each other, but over time, they had lost some illusions that kept them together. In addition, things weren't going well at Larry's work. When they married, it seemed that their ideas would help them make a good living, but that's not how it happened. Working as a computer engineer for a multinational, Larry's salary quickly reached a limit within the corporation, and he no longer received raises or promotions. They had a good life together, but nothing like what Diana imagined when she met that man full of promise and potential. It was at a conference in Larry's 3rd year of college that he saw Diana for the first time. The campus was hosting a technology business event. When he entered the hall, Larry was greeted by a beautiful, well-dressed young woman who captured his attention immediately. It was Diana, who was working as a receptionist for the event. At the time, Diana had no interest in going to college, but needed money to get around and go to high society parties. So, she found an opportunity in the world of events. She dreamed of the day that a man with enough money took her away from that simple life with no prospects. When she saw Larry and approached him, she was only doing her work and being friendly as her bosses ordered. But she felt his eyes looking her up and down. Noting that he was a good-looking and polite man, she put up no barriers when he asked to meet after the event. During their first dinner together, Diana learned that his family was very well off, and that the young man had the focus and ambition to pursue his objectives. As such, he was an excellent candidate to give her a future worthy and deserving of her beauty. But now, after 3 years together, his wife had had enough of feeling that she was not moving forward in life. By this time, she swore she would take vacations at least twice a year, do all the plastic surgeries and aesthetic treatments she felt necessary, and most of all, have a house with a pool. In addition, her mother-in-law Martha lived alone in an enormous old house in a neighborhood that had appreciated in value over the years. The 2-story house had a garden and swimming pool, but needed repairs and maintenance. Martha had osteoporosis, which caused her to occasionally black out, leaving her unable to remember parts of her day. In Diana's opinion, Martha's house was too big for an older woman with bone problems who passed out occasionally. This is why Diana kept suggesting that Larry put his mother in a nursing home. There, she would have caretakers close by and the company of others her age, improving her quality of life, as she would argue. But Larry was never comfortable with the idea. He wanted to be present in his mother's life and not delegate her care to a group of strangers. The young man couldn't imagine where his wife's determination would lead. One afternoon, after another of Martha's blackouts, Larry had to interrupt an important meeting at work and hurry to her house. Arriving there, he saw the crisis had passed and his mother was better. He made sure that she was comfortable and then went home. Diana started right in on Larry, alleging he was irresponsible for not considering her suggestion to give her a support network. She's a fragile old lady, Larry, and what if she tries going downstairs and falls? With her osteoporosis, a fall like that could kill her. Larry thought Diana seemed, in fact, worried about his mom's health and well-being. She suggested they could sell Martha's house and use part of the money to care for her, and there'd be enough left over for the two of them to travel and put a down payment on a new house just for them. At last, she drew close to Larry and seductively whispered, "Think about it, and I promise you one of those nights." Larry smiled and thought for a few minutes until he made a proposal to her. He would try to convince his mom to put the house up for sale. With the money, they can find an older place in a less expensive neighborhood, have a romantic trip, and still have enough money to invest in the development of an app, becoming a partner in a promising company on the invite of an old friend from college. But all of this was on one condition, that his mother would live with them in their new house. Diana obviously wanted to avoid moving to a poorer neighborhood, and especially living with her mother-in-law. Still, she was excited about the possibility of traveling and having a house in her name, so she accepted the proposal, ignoring the horrible consequences this decision would have in the not-too-distant future. The only thing missing was to convince Martha that this was a good idea. At first, the older woman wasn't interested in living with the couple. She said she needed her privacy and that having a sick woman like her around would only bring headaches. Even with her problems, she was happy living alone. "But Mom, don't you see how risky this is? Beyond that, the house is much too big for you to care for. Dad made me promise to take care of you, and I intend to do exactly that. I won't disappoint Dad," Larry said. After weeks of insisting, Martha ceded and agreed to everything her son had proposed. The house sold quickly and for more than the asking price due to the high demand in the neighborhood. With the profits, Larry and Diana put a down payment on a new house. Diana made sure to find one that a modern architect designed so she could brag about her new home on social media. The house had 2 master bedrooms on the top floor and another room on the ground floor. The couple took the primary suite, and Diana convinced Larry to leave the other suite free for guests. And who knows, to be our first child's bedroom, she said. Martha got the bedroom on the main floor, which she appreciated as she wouldn't have to go up any steps. The week after the move, Larry resigned from his job and assumed a position as an associate in his friend's company. Now, Larry Watson felt realized and in the right place for the first time since graduating. From that moment on, he would be his own boss. To celebrate, he decided to take 2 weeks off before beginning the new job. He hired a nurse to stay home with his mother and took Diana to the Bahamas, an unforgettable and romantic voyage. Diana was on cloud 9. She had always dreamed of the sun and sea in the Caribbean, and now finally, she could enjoy it all with no worries or concerns. Deep down, she knew she couldn't live under the same roof with her mother-in-law for very long, but she decided not to worry about that now, especially while having expensive drinks and swimming in the hotel's infinity pool. Once back from the Bahamas, Larry dove into his new job. He worked more hours than before, but was more content working for himself. When he went to the office or had to travel for work, he no longer worried about getting a call saying his mother was not well because she was in his wife's care. But in fact, Diana never invited or included Martha in her activities or outings. The two didn't even eat meals together, even though they lived in the same house. As a result, Martha became a recluse in her room all day, only leaving to eat and go to the bathroom. Diana's restored happiness from the Bahamas trip gave way to a growing resentfulness as the months passed. She felt increasingly bothered by having to see her mother-in-law around the house. Diana made a simple dinner one night and took it to Martha in her room. The older woman was surprised and thanked her for the unexpected kindness. When Martha ate, Diana asked if she had considered living someplace with more assistants and people of her age, where she would have nurses on call for any emergency. Martha understood what her daughter-in-law wanted to say and replied that she never wanted to be a problem for the couple and had warned them that living together might damage their relationship. Finally, she said she would consider going to a nursing home if it was something her son wanted. By this time, Larry and his associates' app was gaining more users and value daily. Larry needed to travel more now, leaving Diana and Martha alone often. Unfortunately, Martha got sick during one of his trips and had a longer than usual blackout episode. Diana felt she had to take advantage of the unfortunate incident to implement her plan. It was now or never. When Martha came out of her episode, she was momentarily confused. The room was dark and she didn't recognize where she was. Her room looked different. On the bedside table, Martha found a card signed by Larry Watson, her son. In the card, he had written that, for her own good, he asked Diana to take her to the best nursing home in the city. That way, she would be protected and cared for until he returned from a long business trip. Then once they were together, he would find a more permanent solution. Even when her husband died, Martha had never felt such a horrible taste of loneliness as she felt now in that dark, unknown room. Trying to hold back her tears, she thought all she wanted was her life back in peace in her old home. But unfortunately, that was only an impossible dream now. Larry returned from his trip 3 weeks later and found his wife in the pool. He brought 2 bags with presents for his mother and wife. She ran to her husband and saw that her present was a beautiful leather purse. When he asked her where his mother was, Diana went to their bedroom and returned with an envelope. "I'm sorry, dear," she said. "I tried to stop her, but she was determined." Larry opened the envelope and found a card signed by Martha, asking her son to forgive her for leaving while he was away, but that now she loved having friends her age. She asked him not to be mad at Diana. "I insisted that she not bother you on your trip, so I asked, please be happy for me. Here, we have games and activities throughout the day. The nurses treat us with care and respect and take us to get some air in the garden whenever we ask. As proof of my happiness here, I ask that you follow your life where it leads and forget your promise to your father. I'm an adult and know how to take care of myself quite well, my love. See you at Christmas," she concluded. Larry was confused and disappointed, thinking he was doing everything possible to have his mother near him, despite his busy work schedule. Diana massaged Larry's shoulders and said that women are sometimes like that. They have phases, and it's best to respect the space they ask for. "Well, seeing as you brought me a present, why don't we open a bottle of wine and I help you relax and forget the subject, huh?" said Diana with a malicious smile. "But look, don't forget that my birthday is coming, and we have reason to celebrate in style this year," she added. But of course, if Diana knew what was about to happen, she would never have planned a party that year. A few weeks later, Larry was in his office when his cell phone rang from an unknown number. He didn't answer at first, but soon after, it rang again. Irritated, he picked up. and it was the nursing home saying that his mother had another blackout and was not doing well. Larry left everything and drove furiously to see his mom. Once there, he saw Martha being given medication with a sick and exhausted expression, almost unable to speak. The doctor explained that the episode was longer and more serious this time. When she came back, she was confused and kept repeating that she wanted to go to her or her son's house. "So we called you," said the doctor. Larry spent the rest of his day next to his mother, hoping she would get better. It was already nighttime when Martha could finally talk for the first time. She was depressed and asked why he had never visited her before. Larry said he respected her wishes to rest and not be bothered, as she made clear in the card. "What card? I didn't write any card." At first, Larry was confused. "Mom, didn't you come here because you wanted to?" he asked. "No, I came because you sent me this," responded Martha, handing Larry the card she had found when she arrived 2 months before. Larry didn't want to believe what he was reading. For a few minutes, he couldn't accept that his wife could invent such a lie, especially involving his mother and his promise to his father on his deathbed. But now, everything made sense. Larry hugged his mom, asked her to rest well that night, and promised to return to get her soon. From inside the car while driving home, Larry called his lawyer and said it would be Diana's birthday in 4 days, and he planned to give her the biggest surprise of her life. 4 days flew by, and Diana was flying high with her dream birthday. She walked through the hall, greeting the guests like a true socialite. The young woman made a point to brag to her friends about how life had been good to her. Larry was impeccable, dressed in a new suit and shiny shoes. She had bought a 3-tiered cake, balloons, and beautiful decorations for the event that went off without a hitch. The guests were impressed. After all, the couple had never held a party of this size. Not even their wedding party had been so well planned, and Diana loved every moment. At one point, the music stopped and Larry asked to speak. He said this was a special date in a year that had been very important for the couple. The first reason to celebrate was Diana's birthday, of course. Hearing this, the birthday girl smiled and waved to the crowd. The other reason was an announcement he wanted to make. He and his partner would sell the app they developed to investors for $8 million. Hearing this news, Diana put her hands over her mouth, feeling her heart accelerate. She celebrated as if the news were a birthday present. In her mind, she was already driving a Mercedes, living in a 3-story house with an infinity pool, wearing designer clothes, and everything else she was entitled to. Then Larry interrupted her daydreaming and showed her a document, saying it was for a joint bank account for their new money. Diana quickly signed on the line indicated by her husband. Then Larry handed the document to his lawyer and surprised everyone, saying that the third reason to celebrate was the most special of them all. "What could be better than becoming a millionaire, my love?" shouted Diana. Larry then signed with his hand and Martha entered, pulling a suitcase on wheels. Seeing her mother-in-law, Diana grew pale and felt lost for a few seconds. The guests also needed help understanding. So, Larry announced he was celebrating the fact that his mother was reacting well to new treatments and would soon move back home with him. Everyone applauded while mother and son embraced. Diana forced herself, but couldn't appear happy, and her legs were shaking. After all, what did all of this mean? Then, Larry went into more detail so that everyone heard how his wife had tricked him and kept his sick mother away from him. He made a point to read both letters Diana had written aloud, which revolted everyone there. Some guests whispered to others, some laughed, and others began collecting their things and leaving. Diana had no idea where to hide. With hatred in her eyes and grinding her teeth, she went to Larry and whispered that it wouldn't end like this. She may not be an educated person, but she knew her rights. "This multi-million-dollar contract that you will sign soon is mine too," she said. But Larry responded that she would get half of everything the two had until yesterday, before the app sale. Diana let out a depraved laugh. "If you think I'll sign divorce papers with these conditions, you're worse off than your old mother," she sneered. "But you have already signed, my dear," Larry replied, calmly taking a business card out of his pocket and handing it to the distressed woman. "This is my lawyer's number. He already left, but he can explain the details of the document you signed today over the phone. And if you insist on fighting for what is not yours, I will make you lose everything in court for putting a sick old woman into a nursing home without her consent or that of her only son." Diana screamed and flailed her arms, needing to be restrained by security guards while Larry and Martha Watson left the ballroom. "Forgive her, my son. You don't need to stay together, but forgive her," said Martha. Larry placed his arms on her shoulder and said, "Maybe one day, Mom, when I have your wisdom. But now, and until our last days together on Earth, I only want to give you what I promised Dad." Weeks later, the renovation of Martha's old house was complete. Larry had repurchased it, preserving all of their family's memories. He and his partner started a new project together, but this time, they were closer than ever. If you like this story, please leave a like. You'll also enjoy the video appearing on screen now. Have a great day, and see you in the next video.